Even when no one is watching, waking up early to train, read a book instead of scrolling through your phone, staying calm instead of reacting impulsively, and listening in silence, instead of rushing to argue in life. No one can avoid uncertain periods and challenges that seem impossible to overcome. Some people collapse, but others push through and grow. What makes the difference? No luck, not circumstances. It's inner strength. A quiet but persistent force from within. Inner strength isn't innate. It's the result of daily mental discipline. Do you want to get through difficulties without losing yourself? Do you want real growth, not just the appearance of strength? Start by training your mental discipline and building inner strength. If you are ready, leave a comment. I want to become better. The path won't be easy, but you will never regret it. Principle number 1. What is mental discipline? Mental discipline is not harsh. Self-restraint. It's not about telling yourself I must endure, then clenching your teeth and bracing for difficulty. Mental discipline goes deeper. It's the ability to control restless thoughts, impulsive emotions, and automatic reactions that instinct often pushes us into. It's the art of keeping your mind from being dragged into nonsense, allowing you to focus on what's useful and within your control. Picture a crowded room, a tense meeting. Suddenly someone makes a direct, provocative comment aimed at you. Their eyes. Watch closely, waiting to see how you'll respond. All eyes turn your way. In that moment, your body tenses, your heart races, and your mind wants to fire back with a sharp reply. But you sit still, back straight. Eyes calm, no words, no lowering of your head, just controlled silence. And that silence unsettles the other person. They expected resistance to assert their power, but you don't give it in that moment. The real power is yours. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Breaking down that statement, freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is not being chained by your emotions and reactions. Mental discipline helps you step out of those invisible chains. When insulted or facing injustice, the instinct is to retaliate. But if you pause, breathe, observe your feelings, and choose not to react immediately, you are living in inner freedom. Some ask, is this a weakness? No, it's the highest form of strength. The weak are easily led by provocation. The strong know not everything is worth responding to, and not every battle is worth fighting. Only those who truly understand themselves and understand God can do this. God didn't create us to chase petty arguments. He gave us will and a mind capable of choice. The greatest choice is this: stay silent when needed and speak up when it truly matters. Let's be honest, this is not easy. Our instincts are strong. Sometimes just a contemptuous glance can stir up anger, but if you train yourself to pause before reacting, you are sharpening the sharpest mental blade. That's mental discipline, the 1-second delay. So your response comes from reason, not impulse. Mental discipline doesn't make you rigid. It helps you stay flexible in any situation. You won't get pulled into someone else's emotional storms. No one can drag you out of the inner peace you've built. The outside world can be chaotic. Inside you remain calm like a deep lake. The surface may ripple in the wind, but the bottom stays still. If you ask, when should I stay silent and when should I speak? The answer is self-control. Stay silent, not out of fear, but because you choose to be calm. Speak not to win or lose, but to protect what matters. That's when you understand mental discipline. Just like you train your body through exercise, mental discipline requires daily practice. Every time you choose restraint, calm, or observation over impulsive reaction, you move closer to real growth. Calmness is a mark of wisdom and self-respect. Not every insult deserves a response. A silent, steady gaze is the highest answer. A quiet declaration that you are strong enough not to be shaken. But why must inner growth start with mental discipline? Is it because it's the root of all maturity? Is it because when you control your mind, you control your entire life? In the next part, I'll give you the answer, and it's something you won't be able to stop reading. Principle number 2. Why does inner development need to start with mental discipline? Mental discipline is not harsh self-restraint. It's not about telling yourself I must endure, then clenching your teeth and bracing for difficulty. Mental discipline goes deeper. It's the ability to control restless thoughts, impulsive emotions, and automatic reactions that instinct often pushes us into. It's the art of keeping your mind from being dragged into nonsense, allowing you to focus on what's useful and within your control. Picture a crowded room, a tense meeting. Suddenly someone makes a direct, provocative comment aimed at you, their eyes. Watch closely, waiting to see how you'll respond. All eyes turn your way. In that moment, your body tenses, your heart races, and your mind wants to fire back with a sharp reply, but you sit still, back straight, eyes calm, no words, no lowering of your head, just controlled silence, and that silence unsettles the other person. They expected resistance to assert their power, but you don't give it in that moment. The real power is yours. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Breaking down that statement, freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is not being chained by your emotions and reactions. Mental discipline helps you step out of those invisible chains. When insulted or facing injustice, the instinct is to retaliate. But if you pause, breathe, observe your feelings, and choose not to react immediately, you're living in inner freedom. Some ask, is this a weakness? No, it's the highest form of strength. The weak are easily led by provocation. The strong know not everything is worth responding to, and not every battle is worth fighting. Only those who truly understand themselves and understand God can do this. God didn't create us to chase petty arguments. He gave us will and a mind capable of choice. The greatest choice is this: stay silent when needed, and speak up when it truly matters. Let's be honest, this is not easy. Our instincts are strong. Sometimes just a contemptuous glance can stir up anger, but if you train yourself to pause before reacting, you're sharpening the sharpest mental blade. That's mental discipline. The 1-second delay. So your response comes from reason, not impulse. Mental discipline doesn't make you rigid. It helps you stay flexible in any situation. You won't get pulled into someone else's emotional storms. No one can drag you out of the inner peace you've built. The outside world can be chaotic inside. You remain calm like a deep lake. The surface may ripple in the wind, but the bottom stays still. If you ask, when should I stay silent and when should I speak? The answer is self-control. Stay silent not out of fear, but because you choose to be calm. Speak not to win or lose, but to protect what matters. That's when you understand mental discipline, just like you train your body through exercise. Mental discipline requires daily practice. Every time you choose restraint, calm, or observation over impulsive reaction, you move closer to real growth. Calmness is a mark of wisdom and self-respect. Not every insult deserves a response. A silent, steady gaze is the highest answer. A quiet declaration that you are strong enough not to be shaken. But why must inner growth start with mental discipline? Is it because it's the root of all maturity? Is it because when you control your mind, you control your entire life? In the next part, I'll give you the answer, and it's something you won't be able to stop reading. Principle number 3, the power of mastering thoughts. A mistake, a failure, or even an unintended criticism can shake us, but if we are clear-headed enough, we realize that what causes pain isn't the event itself, but how we think about it. Stoic philosophy emphasized this long ago. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things. Epictetus. People do not suffer from what happens, but from how they interpret what happens in their minds. And this is where inner growth begins, with mental discipline and the ability to control one's thoughts. Jake is a typical example of this lesson. He lost his job after 10 years of dedication. Walking out of the office with his termination letter in hand, his mind went blank. His ego screamed, "You've failed." That first night he sat silently by the window watching the blurred streetlights through the rain, letting self-pity consume him. But the next morning, after a sleepless night, he asked himself, if this event is just an event, neither good nor bad, and I have the power to assign it, meaning, why choose a meaning that brings me down? He got up. His eyes were still red, but his mind was calm. He decided to see unemployment not as failure, but as a new chapter, a door he was forced to open. No one would lead him. Now he would lead himself. Mental discipline began at that moment when he realized he had the power to choose how to think. Have you ever faced a situation like Jake's? Ever let negative thoughts consume you simply because you assumed the situation was tragic? Look closer. No person, no circumstance can control your mind unless you allow it. Those who see challenges as enemies will only find burdens. Those who see challenges as teachers will grow. The difference comes down to a single moment of awareness. The moment you ask yourself, what am I thinking, and is this thought serving me? Mastering your thoughts is the foundation of all inner development. All emotions come from thoughts. You are not angry because someone insulted you. You are angry because you think their words are an insult. You are not afraid of failure. You fear because you believe failure is the end. Change your thoughts and you change your emotions. Change your emotions and you change your actions. Through those actions, your life changes. But this doesn't happen on its own. It requires mental discipline, a quiet but persistent daily training. Imagine standing on a stage speaking to an important audience. In the middle of your talk, someone in the front row scoffs and throws out a sarcastic comment. Sounds pretty obvious, doesn't it? Everyone knows that. The room freezes. Curious glances turn to you, waiting for a reaction. If you let your mind slip, anger will rise with the thought, "He's mocking me," and you might lash out or defend yourself. But if you are disciplined, you'll pause for a beat. Hold your gaze steady on that person. Calm eyes, steady face. You continue your speech in a firm, composed tone, as if the comment never happened. Your composure becomes a silent statement. The heckler, getting no reaction, is left with their own awkwardness, and you move on fully in control. Mental discipline is not just about protecting pride, it's the foundation of inner peace. When your mind is no longer dragged around by outside forces, you see what truly matters, why you live and who you want to become. The turmoil out there is just wind. The anchor, holding your life steady, is the ability to tell yourself, I can't control the wind, but I can control the sails in the end. Inner growth is not mystical. It's a daily process of training your mind to think in ways that serve your values and goals. When you realize you can choose how to see things, you begin to build a life that's free and grounded in mastering your thoughts. You find true growth that, as Stoicism teaches, is the highest power, a power that nothing external can take from you. Principle number 4, emotional discipline. We often confuse emotions with truth. We get angry and believe our anger is justified, something that must be expressed immediately. But Stoicism teaches that emotions are just passing waves. The waves can be large and violent, but eventually they calm. Actions taken in those waves often leave lasting consequences, sometimes fractures that can't be repaired. Imagine you are angry after a heated argument. Your fingers scroll across the screen, typing harsh words that at that moment you believe must be said. But the moment you hit send, the air around you grows cold. The relationship you worked hard to build suddenly feels fragile. Maybe you were right in your thoughts, but you were wrong in how you acted. That mistake came from letting temporary emotions lead the way. A person with mental discipline will stop, breathe, and ask themselves, will this still matter? A day from now, a week from now, a year from now. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He reminds us that true power lies within, in the ability to control our thoughts and reactions, not in controlling the external world. When someone insults you, your instinct is to strike back, but look them in the eye. Stay silent and you'll see they are not stronger than you. They're looking for instability in you to feed their own ego. But when you don't give them that reaction, you hold the real power. You might ask, but why should I endure this? The answer is self-respect and faith in a larger justice. This is where we understand God's role in our spiritual lives. God doesn't give us a life without trials. He gives us free will to choose how to respond. Anger is a temptation. Silence and restraint are the highest forms of silent prayer, a plea saying, "Please help me keep the peace you have placed in my heart." God does not side with the loud. He stands with those who are humble and patient and who place compassion above ego. Every time you master emotional discipline, you are not only living in the spirit of Stoicism, but also fulfilling a sacred duty, becoming a source of peace instead of turmoil. Think about silent moments in a room, a calm gaze, a steady posture. Others may raise their voices and may try to show power, but that calmness is the strongest silent statement. I am in control. I will not be pulled into one storm. And when others realize they can't manipulate your emotions, their unease returns to them. They will wonder why your silence shakes their balance so deeply. Emotional discipline is not negative suppression. It's choosing how to act after the wave has passed. It's knowing that what you are about to say can either build or destroy. Sometimes saying nothing is the strongest action. Don't think this only applies to big conflicts, even small things. A short reply, a sigh, a glance show either self-control or a lack of it. Stoicism emphasizes that inner growth doesn't come from grand moments, but from every small decision not to let emotions lead you. God sees each small choice and patiently walks with you through every step of growth. Trust that every time you practice emotional discipline, you are laying another brick in your strong inner temple. Once you understand the power of emotional discipline, the next question is, how will each small action become part of a lasting foundation? In the next section, I will talk about where every small choice, every quiet decision becomes the bedrock for true and lasting growth. You'll see that nothing is small when it shapes the person you are becoming. Every small action, people often ask, how do you build inner strength? Where do you start on the journey of spiritual growth? The answer always lies in the simplest thing. Every small action, every seemingly trivial choice repeated long enough with enough discipline will shape who you are. Inner development doesn't come from moments of explosive breakthrough. It comes from whether you can stay disciplined with the smallest things. Picture this: early in the morning, the alarm rings. The room is still dark, your body feels heavy, and your mind starts listing excuses. Just 5 more minutes. I deserve to rest today. We all know that moment, but that's exactly when your mental discipline is tested. Marcus Aurelius once wrote at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. When you overcome laziness, when you force yourself out bed, not because someone made you, but because you understand that the duty of being human is to act, that moment is when inner growth begins. Spiritual maturity isn't a romantic result. Every small action matters. Every small action is a brick. You can't build a fortress if you only lay bricks when you feel like it. Inner strength is forged in the mornings when you want to stay in bed, but get up anyway. In the moments when you want to lash out, but choose silence. And in the times when you want to quit, but take one more step. You might think those small actions don't matter, but the truth is they're all recorded in your mind. Every time you choose to compromise for comfort, you quietly send yourself the message, I am weak. On the other hand, every time you choose the right action, no matter how small, you remind yourself, I am in control. This builds a quiet sense of self-respect that others can feel. No need to explain or prove anything. When someone mocks you or provokes you, they're looking for a reaction. They want to pull you into their game. If you lose control, they win. But if you just look at them, stay silent, your gaze calm, neither hateful nor submissive, showing complete self-control, they'll feel uneasy. They'll realize they can't touch you like a fortress that doesn't shake in a storm. But could you do that without training yourself in the smallest actions number? Every small action is like a blade sharpening. Every morning you get out of bed on time is a victory every time you hold back. Anger is a lesson every time you complete a small task is one more step toward building trust in yourself. That's why people with strong mental discipline radiate confidence. They don't need to show off. They just need to be present, and everyone around them knows they are someone who has quietly won countless internal battles. Have you ever respected someone who stayed silent in the face of provocation? They don't need to justify themselves. Their eyes say, "I know who I am and I don't need to prove it." That's not natural. That's the result of thousands of times they've chosen the right small action. Marcus Aurelius taught us that don't wait until you feel ready or inspired. Get up and do the work of a human being, because those small, repeated actions will build real inner freedom and strength. And I want to ask you tomorrow morning when the alarm goes off, will you listen to reasons to stay in temporary comfort? Or will you remind yourself that every small action, every small choice, is a promise to yourself about the person you are becoming? Inner growth starts there, not from grand things, but from what you do in the smallest moments when no one is watching. Principle number 6, facing difficulties instead of avoiding them. We're all good at avoiding things. Our minds aren't thinking machines, they're avoidance machines. The incredible part is that we often don't even realize we are avoiding thinking about something. Let me give you some examples right now. You are listening to this video, but you are probably avoiding thinking about something difficult. We constantly check messages, news feeds, and notifications, all to avoid doing something we don't want to face. When life gets hard, we tell ourselves everything will be fine because this too shall pass. Or we bury ourselves in work, social activities, or worse, seek numbing agents like alcohol or entertainment so we don't have to look the problem in the eye. When problems arise, our first instinct is to do something else, to delay paying bills, filing taxes, responding to long emails, cleaning the messy room. These are all things we postpone because we don't want to face discomfort and inconvenience. We put off exercising because it tires us out. We delay honest conversations because we fear awkwardness and confrontation. The irony is that the things we avoid are exactly what leads to growth. Everything you avoid is a test of your inner maturity. Real growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. The 6th principle in the journey of mental discipline is to face difficulty instead of avoiding it. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, was left crippled in one leg due to violence in his youth, but he didn't complain. He saw pain as unavoidable and turned it into a life lesson. Acceptance and resilience. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Stop and ask yourself, how are you reacting to difficulty right now? Are you hiding behind excuses like, "I'm busy," or "it's not the right time"? Or are you looking it in the eye and asking the key question, what is this teaching me? We don't grow from pleasant moments. We grow when facing discomfort and then calmly handling it, a tense meeting, a tricky email, or physical or emotional pain. They're all opportunities if you avoid them. You only prolong anxiety and weaken your mind if you face them. You start building inner strength. I know the temptation to avoid is strong. When you sit in a meeting and someone irritates you, the natural instinct is to look down at your phone and glance around for an escape, but try just once to keep your eyes steady and calm. Don't say anything. Just look and listen at that moment. You are not only controlling the situation, you are controlling yourself. That's a silent statement. I'm not controlled by insecurity or pressure. Just as Epictetus didn't complain about his crippled leg, you don't need to complain about injustice or hardship. They won't disappear because you avoid thinking about them. They only shrink when you walk straight toward them and say, "I'm ready." You might ask, how do I start facing things instead of avoiding them? Start with the smallest tasks today. Handle one thing you've been putting off. Send the email you've been scared to write. Clean the corner of the room you've been avoiding. Go for a walk when you just want to stay in bed. And when you do that, remember, every obstacle is a test of growth. It's where you build mental discipline and inner strength. Not tomorrow, not when things feel right now. Share below. What difficult thing have you been postponing, and how will you face it? I want to hear your story. Leave your comment below. Principle number 7, how to practice mental discipline every day. Inner development begins with mental discipline, and mental discipline doesn't come from theory. It comes from daily life, from the smallest and most uncomfortable things in the morning. The moment you open your eyes, your mind is often pulled in many directions. Work, unresolved issues, and unwanted situations that may arise right then. There's one simple habit that can change how you face life. Remind yourself of one sentence today. I cannot control external circumstances, only myself. Pause for a few seconds and truly feel it. The external world is always unstable. People can be cold. Markets can collapse and loans can fail, but your response belongs to you. Your calmness belongs to you. That reminder is not just advice, it's a shield, and then you stand up and step into the day like a silent warrior. You can't control the rain, but you can choose to walk through it without complaint. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius understood this. When you constantly try to control what's beyond your reach, anxiety and worry will tear you apart. But when you accept your limits and put all your effort into controlling your thoughts, reactions and focus, you'll stand firm amid any storm, like a tree with roots deep in the ground. During a storm, leaves may fall, but the trunk and roots do not shake. However, understanding is one thing. Practice is another. Mental discipline is forged through steady action, through things no one sees, but you know you've done. One of the strongest tools is journaling. Every evening, sit down and write honestly, what did I manage to control today? When did I give in and let emotions take over? A journal is not for rambling. It's a mirror that does not lie. The more honest you are, the more you'll see the cracks in your character and find ways to patch them up the next day. No one grows in confusion. Facing yourself every day is how you sharpen your spirit, but writing and reminders aren't enough. Stoicism teaches, the discipline grows when you voluntarily face discomfort. Cato, one of the philosophy's role models, often wore rough clothing in public to train himself not to fear judgment or scorn. Can you stand in discomfort like that each day? You can set small challenges for yourself. Wake up early when your body begs for 15 more minutes of sleep. Step into a cold shower when your mind tries to delay, or simply make your bed neatly before leaving the house. These small acts aren't for others to see. They're for you to see yourself as someone who doesn't bow to feelings or laziness. When you master the small things, you are steadily conquering the big ones. Some might ask why. Put yourself through this. The answer is simple. Life is not gentle. If you only hope for calm, you'll be swept away when storms hit. Mental discipline is building endurance before the storm arrives. It's also how you live humbly before God, because God never promised life would be easy, but He gave you the will to stand firm. Every time you overcome discomfort, you send a silent prayer. Give me strength to choose what's right instead of what's easy, and in those small actions, grace is present. Quiet, unshowy, just silent dignity in front of God and your own conscience. Finally, remember, mental discipline isn't a destination. It's a journey. Today you stay calm. Tomorrow you might fail. That's okay. Write again, correct yourself, and do it again. As Marcus Aurelius said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Obstacles don't block the path. Obstacles are the path. Every difficulty is an opportunity to practice, to stand firm, and to become a better version of yourself. That's how you grow from the inside. Little by little, day by day, quietly, but never without purpose. And finally, remember, this inner growth doesn't come from fancy words or knowledge you hear from others. It begins when you dare to take control of yourself in every small choice, in every daily reaction, each time you manage to hold back a negative thought or resist an impulse. Epictetus says that true power lies in those who act despite uncertainty. The world does not reward those who wait. It rewards those who start, refine, and improve along the way. So the question is not when you will be ready, but why you are still waiting. Emotional versus logical decision-making, who's really in control? Every decision you make is a battle between two forces, emotion and logic. One is impulsive, driven by fear, excitement, and immediate gratification. The other is measured, focused on long-term consequences and rooted in reason. Most people believe they are logical thinkers, that they make rational choices based on careful analysis. But in reality, emotions often sit in the driver's seat, steering actions before logic even has a chance to intervene. The mind left untrained defaults to what feels right, not necessarily what is right. This is why people abandon workouts after a bad day, spend money they don't have for a fleeting sense of comfort, or avoid difficult conversations because they fear discomfort. It is why procrastination takes over when a task feels overwhelming, even when logic knows that delaying will only make it worse. The emotional mind reacts to now while the logical mind considers later. But in the absence of discipline, emotion wins because it speaks the loudest. Marcus Aurelius understood this struggle intimately. He wrote constantly about the need to separate thought from feeling to ensure that action was dictated by reason rather than impulse. He reminded himself that just because something feels urgent does not mean it is important, and just because something feels difficult does not mean it should be avoided. He trained his mind to pause before acting, to question whether a reaction was based on clarity or simply a temporary emotional state. This ability to slow down to challenge knee-jerk responses was the foundation of his self-mastery. Seneca, in his Reflections on Human Behavior, observed how often people allow emotions to distort their judgment. He saw how anger leads to regrettable words, how excitement leads to overcommitment, how fear leads to missed opportunities. He believed that true wisdom comes from recognizing these patterns and training oneself to pause before acting. He advised a simple but powerful practice when emotions rise: delay action. This does not mean ignoring feelings, but allowing time for logic to take control. Before making a decision, Epictetus took a more direct approach, teaching that those who are ruled by emotion are not truly free. He saw that a person who cannot control their reactions, who explodes in anger, who gives into every impulse, who allows fear to dictate their choices, is a slave to their emotions. To him, freedom was not found in external circumstances, but in the ability to govern oneself. He taught his students to observe their thoughts like a third party, to step back from their own emotions and analyze them as if they were watching someone else. Why am I feeling this? Is this reaction helping me? What would I advise a friend to do in this situation? These questions create space. Space for logic to enter before emotion takes over. Modern psychology echoes these ancient insights. Studies on cognitive biases show that people consistently overestimate the importance of emotions in decision-making. The hot-cold empathy gap explains why individuals who are calm often make completely different choices than when they are emotional. The mind, when under stress or excitement, narrows its focus, prioritizing immediate relief over long-term benefit. This is why emotional decisions often feel right in the moment, but lead to regret afterward. So how does one regain control? The answer is deliberate awareness. Pause before acting. When an emotion is strong, wait, let logic have a chance to speak before making a decision. Train the brain to focus on long-term consequences. Ask, will this matter a week from now? A year from now, create systems that override impulse. If logic says you need to exercise, but emotions want comfort, remove the need for debate. Set the gym clothes out to the night before, make the first step automatic. The Stoics did not believe in suppressing emotion. They believed in mastering it. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to act based on principle, not passing moods. Seneca observed his emotions before reacting, ensuring that his decisions served his future, not just his present. Epictetus saw that true strength lies not in controlling the world, but in controlling oneself. The mind will always have two voices, one driven by fleeting emotion, the other by reason. The question is, who are you allowing to make your decisions? The danger of big goals, why they feel impossible to achieve. Ambition fuels progress, but when a goal feels too large, too distant, or too overwhelming, the mind resists. The bigger the vision, the heavier the weight of expectation. A person looks at their dream, a career change, writing a book, mastering a skill, and instead of feeling inspired, they feel stuck. The path seems unclear, the journey too long, the work required too much. And so rather than starting, they hesitate, they overthink, they wait. Not because they lack ability, but because they have made the mistake of looking at the mountain instead of the next step. The mind struggles with abstract goals. It does not process. I want to become financially independent the same way it processes. I need to save $10 today. It does not handle, I want to be in the best shape of my life the same way it handles. I will do 20 minutes of exercise right now. The brain is designed to focus on immediate, tangible actions. What can be done now, not vague, distant ambitions. This is why so many people set big goals yet fail to act. The vision is clear, but the process is undefined. And when the path is unclear, procrastination takes over. Marcus Aurelius understood that great things are built piece by piece. He reminded himself not to focus on the enormity of a task, but on the smallest action available in the moment. Do what is in front of you. He wrote he did not allow himself to be overwhelmed by the weight of responsibility. Instead, he approached each day with a practical mindset, knowing that action, no matter how small, is always within reach. Seneca saw that people often defeat themselves before they begin. They imagine a goal in its final form, and feeling unworthy or incapable, they hesitate. He believed that progress is made not by waiting for the confidence to begin, but by beginning and allowing confidence to follow. He taught that rather than focusing on how much remains to be done, one should focus on what can be done now. While we wait for life, life passes. Action is the cure for hesitation. Epictetus took a different perspective. He believed that those who become overwhelmed by large goals do so because they are too attached to the outcome rather than the process. He saw that fulfillment is not in achieving a final result, but in the daily discipline of effort. The weight of a big goal disappears when one stops obsessing over when it will be completed and instead focuses on what can be done today. He advised his students to treat every task as if it were the only task, to give full attention to what was within their control and let the long-term results take care of themselves. Modern psychology confirms this ancient wisdom. Studies show that the brain struggles with long-term rewards. It prioritizes what is immediate over what is important. Another aspect of Stoic confidence is the ability to accept failure and imperfection. Many people struggle with confidence because they're afraid of making mistakes or falling short of their goals. But the Stoics teach us that failure is not something to fear. It is an inevitable part of life and an opportunity for growth. Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." In other words, the fear of failure often holds us back more than the failure itself. By embracing challenges and learning from our mistakes, we build resilience and strengthen our confidence. Consider the story of Thomas Edison, the famous inventor who faced countless failures before successfully inventing the light bulb. When asked about his many failed attempts, Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found tens of ways that won't work." This mindset reflects the Stoic approach to confidence, seeing failures not as defeats, but as valuable lessons that bring us closer to success. Confidence doesn't come from avoiding failure, but from knowing that you have the strength to keep going, no matter the obstacles. In conclusion, understanding true self-confidence is about shifting your focus from external validation to inner strength. Stoicism teaches us that confidence comes from mastering our thoughts and emotions, living according to our values, and embracing failure as part of the journey. When you stop relying on others to define your worth and start cultivating confidence from within, you become resilient, grounded, and unshakable in the face of life's challenges. 2. Knowing and living according to your personal beliefs. One of the most powerful ways to build confidence is to live in alignment with your personal beliefs. Stoicism teaches that living according to your own values and principles is the key to developing inner strength and self-assurance. When you know what you stand for and live your life based on those beliefs, your confidence grows naturally because you are grounded in a sense of purpose and clarity. Many people struggle with confidence because they lack a strong sense of who they are and what they believe in. They may find themselves constantly swayed by the opinions and expectations of others, unsure of what direction to take in life. But Epictetus reminds us, "Know first who you are and then adorn yourself accordingly." This quote speaks to the idea that confidence comes from knowing yourself and making decisions based on your own beliefs, rather than trying to fit into someone else's mold. Living according to your personal beliefs also protects you from the uncertainty and self-doubt that can come from trying to please others. When your actions are aligned with your values, you don't need to worry about external approval or whether you're making the right choice in the eyes of others. You can be confident that you are staying true to yourself, and that's what matters most. Consider someone who is confident in their values and beliefs. Perhaps they are faced with a difficult decision, like choosing between a high-paying job that doesn't align with their ethics or a more modest job that reflects their values. A person who lives according to their beliefs will confidently choose the path that aligns with their values, knowing that true success isn't measured by money or status, but by living in integrity. This kind of confidence doesn't come from external success. It comes from knowing that you're living authentically. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This Stoic wisdom emphasizes that the beliefs you hold about yourself and the world shape your experience of life. If your thoughts are rooted in truth, integrity, and purpose, your confidence will flourish. On the other hand, if you base your life on superficial values like fame, wealth, or the approval of others, your confidence will always feel shaky because these things are beyond your control. Living according to your beliefs also means standing firm in the face of criticism or opposition. There will always be people who disagree with your values or who try to push you in a different direction. But when you are clear about what you believe, it becomes much easier to stand your ground with confidence. Seneca advised, "As long as you know you are living according to your principles, don't let criticism from others shake you." Confidence doesn't mean you'll never face doubt or opposition. It means you trust yourself to make decisions based on your own values, even when others don't agree. Let's explore an example from daily life. Imagine you've decided to adopt a more minimalist lifestyle because you believe in living simply and sustainably. However, your friends and family may not understand your choice. They might question why you've stopped buying new clothes or why you're living in a smaller apartment. But because you're confident in your belief that minimalism aligns with your values of sustainability and intentional living, their opinions don't shake you. You remain firm in your decision because it's based on what matters to you, not on what others expect. Another aspect of this Stoic lesson is the idea that confidence grows when we act in accordance with our values, even in small, everyday decisions. You don't have to face major life-altering choices to practice this. Each day presents opportunities to align your actions with your beliefs. For instance, if one of your core values is kindness, you can build confidence by consistently treating others with compassion, even when it's difficult. Over time, these small acts of living in alignment with your values reinforce your sense of self and your confidence in who you are. Self-reflection plays a crucial role in living according to your beliefs. The Stoics believed that regular reflection on your thoughts, actions, and beliefs is essential for personal growth. By taking time to reflect on your values and how you're living them, you become more attuned to what's truly important to you. This clarity strengthens your confidence because it ensures that your life is being guided by principles you believe in rather than by external pressures or fleeting desires. Consider the Stoic practice of journaling, which Marcus Aurelius famously engaged in through his meditations. By writing down his thoughts and reflecting on his actions, he was able to continually assess whether he was living according to his beliefs. This practice not only helped him stay aligned with his values, but also built his confidence in his ability to make sound decisions based on those values. In conclusion, knowing and living according to your personal beliefs is a foundational Stoic lesson for boosting confidence. When you are clear about what you stand for and make decisions based on those values, you cultivate a deep sense of self-assurance. Stoicism teaches us that true confidence doesn't come from external achievements or approval. It comes from living authentically in alignment with our inner principles. By practicing self-reflection, standing firm in your beliefs, and making daily choices that reflect your values, you can build unshakable confidence in yourself and your path. 3. Focusing on what matters. One of the core lessons of Stoic philosophy is the ability to focus on what truly matters in life. In a world full of distractions from social media to material possessions, it's easy to lose sight of what's important. We often find ourselves chasing after things that don't bring lasting happiness or fulfillment, whether it's wealth, recognition, or the approval of others. Stoicism teaches us that confidence grows when we align our focus with what genuinely matters, our values, our inner peace, and the things within our control. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This quote highlights the importance of focusing on what truly brings value to our lives, rather than getting caught up in the endless pursuit of more. When you focus on what really matters, things like your personal growth, your relationships, and living according to your values, you begin to realize that external achievements or possessions are fleeting. Confidence comes from knowing that you're dedicating your time and energy to things that align with your purpose and values, not with societal pressures or superficial goals. Focusing on what matters also means learning to filter out distractions. We live in a world where we're constantly bombarded with information and noise, whether it's through advertisements, social media, or even the opinions of others. This constant influx can make it difficult to focus on the things that are truly important to us. Imagine you're preparing for an important presentation at work. In the days leading up to it, you feel anxious and unsure of yourself. Instead of letting those feelings undermine your confidence, you take time to reflect. You ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What's the worst that could happen? What have I done in the past that prepared me for this? Through this process, you realize that you've successfully given presentations before and that your preparation has set you up for success. This self-reflection not only calms your nerves, but also reinforces your belief in your own abilities. In conclusion, practicing self-reflection is a crucial Stoic lesson for boosting confidence. By regularly examining your thoughts, actions, and emotions, you gain valuable insights into your strengths and weaknesses, which helps you grow and improve. Self-reflection also helps you stay aligned with your values, break negative patterns, and cultivate a mindset that fosters confidence and resilience. Through daily reflection, whether through journaling or simply taking time to think, you can build a deep sense of self-assurance that will guide you through life's challenges. 5. Building resilience. Resilience is one of the most essential qualities for navigating life's challenges with confidence, and it is a central concept in Stoic philosophy. Life is full of obstacles, setbacks, and unexpected events, but how we respond to these challenges determines whether we become stronger or feel defeated. The Stoics teach us that true resilience comes from focusing on what we can control and accepting what we cannot. Epictetus reminds us it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This Stoic teaching is at the heart of resilience. While we cannot always control the circumstances we face, whether it's a personal failure, a health issue, or a difficult relationship, Epictetus reminds us it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. We have complete control over how we respond. By choosing to view challenges as opportunities for growth rather than as insurmountable problems, we build the mental and emotional strength to face adversity with confidence. Building resilience means cultivating the ability to bounce back from difficulties. It's not about avoiding pain or discomfort, but learning to endure them with grace and clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This powerful Stoic principle teaches us that obstacles are not meant to be avoided, but embraced as part of our journey. Each challenge we face provides an opportunity to develop our resilience, grow stronger, and become more confident in our ability to handle future difficulties. Consider a common situation in which resilience is necessary: losing a job. For many, this experience can be overwhelming and lead to feelings of failure, self-doubt, and fear about the future. However, through the lens of Stoicism, losing a job can be seen not as a failure, but as an opportunity for growth and reinvention. The Stoics would advise us to focus on what we can control, our next steps, how we use our time and our mindset, rather than dwelling on the loss itself. By approaching the situation with resilience, we can turn what seems like a setback into a new beginning. Another key aspect of building resilience is accepting that life is unpredictable. The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils, which involves mentally preparing for worst-case scenarios. By considering what could go wrong, Stoics were better equipped to handle challenges with composure when they arose. This practice doesn't mean dwelling on negativity, but rather acknowledging that hardships are a natural part of life. When you mentally prepare for adversity, you're less likely to be caught off guard and more likely to respond with resilience when difficulties arise. Let's take the example of someone training for a marathon. They know that along the way they will face physical fatigue, injury, or moments of doubt. Instead of fearing these obstacles, they anticipate them and develop strategies to overcome them. Whether it's through physical conditioning, mental toughness, or learning to pace themselves, this is resilience in action. The Stoics believed that our perception of events shapes our experience of them. Seneca said, "A man is as miserable as he thinks he is." This highlights the power of our thoughts in shaping our reality. When we view challenges as insurmountable, we feel overwhelmed and defeated. But when we see them as opportunities for growth, we approach them with a sense of purpose and resilience. By choosing to maintain a positive outlook, even in difficult times, we build the mental toughness needed to overcome adversity. In addition to mental resilience, the Stoics emphasize the importance of emotional resilience. Life's challenges can trigger a range of emotions: anger, sadness, frustration, or fear. While it's natural to feel these emotions, the Stoics teach us not to let them control our actions. Epictetus advised, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." This means focusing on what you can do and accepting what you cannot change. Emotional resilience involves acknowledging your feelings, but not allowing them to dictate your response. The Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius emphasized accepting the things we cannot control and focusing our energy on what we can influence in life. We encounter obstacles, whether it's in our relationships, work or health, that feel like forces we must fight against. But just as a river flows effortlessly around rocks, life too moves in its own natural rhythm. The struggle, the frustration, the effort to control. These are often what hold us back from achieving what we truly desire. Think of it this way: when a river comes to a large boulder, it doesn't fight it. It doesn't try to move the stone out of its path. Instead, the water flows around it smoothly and effortlessly. It accepts the obstacle and moves forward, adjusting its course as necessary. This is the essence of WWE and also the essence of Stoic wisdom. Life presents obstacles and challenges we cannot control, but how we choose to respond, that's where our true power lies. So how can you apply WWE in your daily life? Start by noticing when you are pushing too hard. When you feel the weight of resistance, whether in your job, your relationships, or your personal goals, take a step back. Ask yourself, am I forcing this? Sometimes the most powerful action is to pause, breathe, and allow the situation to unfold naturally. You don't need to control every detail or rush every decision. Trust that when you align with the natural flow of life, things will fall into place with much less effort. Imagine today, instead of forcing, you simply let things flow. You trust that life will move in the right direction as long as you allow it to. Instead of struggling, you learn to ride the current and the results will surprise you. 2. Act only when the moment is right. How many times have you found yourself rushing into a decision because you thought it had to be made right now? That sense of urgency, the feeling that if you don't act immediately, you'll miss out or lose your chance. In a world that constantly demands action, it's easy to believe that every moment requires a response. But here's the truth. Sometimes the most powerful action is to do nothing at all until the moment is right. The ancient Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus understood that timing is everything. They didn't act hastily or impulsively. Instead, they practiced patience, knowing that acting prematurely or out of fear could lead to regret and unnecessary struggle. The Stoic ideal was to act only when the moment was aligned with virtue, necessity, and wisdom, not when pressured by the demands of the world or our own anxious minds. Think of a chess player carefully considering each move. They don't make decisions impulsively. They study the board, consider the potential outcomes, and only act when the time is right. The same principle applies in life. When we are caught up in the rush, we often make decisions without fully understanding the consequences. But when we take the time to wait, to think, and to act from a place of clarity, our choices are more deliberate, more thoughtful, and ultimately more effective. In your own life, how often do you feel compelled to make decisions quickly? Whether it's in your career, relationships, or personal projects, there's a tendency to rush forward believing that if you don't act now, you'll fall behind. But when you move too fast, you risk missing the subtle signs, the small moments of clarity that come only when you are patient enough to wait. So how can you practice this art of waiting for the right moment? First, learn to recognize when you are feeling rushed or pressured to act. Pause, take a breath. Ask yourself, is this the right time to make a decision? If it is, you'll know it. If not, give yourself permission to wait. It's not about procrastinating. It's about acting from a place of wisdom and awareness rather than impulse or anxiety. Imagine today, instead of rushing through decisions, you allowed yourself the space to wait for the right moment. You trusted that the world would unfold as it's meant to, and you moved only when you felt aligned with the timing and purpose of the situation. You might find that by waiting, your decisions are not only more effective, but also more fulfilling. 3. Control is an illusion. Let go and trust the process. How often do you feel the need to control every aspect of your life? We plan, we organize, and we try to manage everything. Our work, our relationships, even the tiniest details of our daily routine. It feels like we're steering the ship, trying to keep everything on course. But have you ever stopped to think? What if control is just an illusion? The Stoics believe that much of our suffering comes from the illusion of control. We often believe that if we just push hard enough, we can shape the world around us exactly as we want it. But life doesn't work like that. The universe moves in its own rhythm, and while we can influence certain things, we can't control them. All the things that happen to us, the people we interact with, the challenges that arise, these are often beyond our influence. The only thing we can truly control is how we respond to them. Think about it. When you try to control everything, you become consumed by stress. The more you grip tightly, the more you realize you are actually fighting against life itself. It's like trying to hold on to sand. It slips through your fingers no matter how tightly you squeeze. In contrast, when you let go of the need to control, you free yourself from the constant tension that accompanies it. You give yourself the space to breathe, to act with clarity, and to trust that life will unfold as it should. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, constantly reminded himself to focus only on what he could control. His actions, his thoughts, his responses. Everything else he learned to accept as part of the natural flow. He didn't waste energy trying to control the uncontrollable. Instead, he trusted in the process, knowing that by doing his best, he could trust that the universe would take care of the rest. So how can you apply this lesson to your own life? Start by noticing where you are trying to control things that are out of your reach. Whether it's the behavior of others, the outcome of a situation, or even the flow of time itself, ask yourself, what can I control here? Once you identify what's in your power, focus on that and let go of everything else. Trust that by doing your part, the rest will fall into place. Imagine today, instead of holding tightly to the reins, you let go and allowed life to unfold naturally. You trusted the process, knowing that not everything is meant to be controlled. When you stop fighting against what you cannot change, you'll find that things often work out even better than you expected. 4. Spontaneity over struggle. True art is effortless. How many times have you found yourself stuck in the struggle, trying to force something into existence? We push ourselves to be perfect, to plan every move, and to control every detail. The idea of effortless living can seem almost foreign when we are so conditioned to believe that hard work means struggle. But what if I told you that the most beautiful and fulfilling moments in life happen when we let go of the struggle and embrace spontaneity? The Stoics believed in living with purpose and discipline, but they also understood the importance of flowing with life. They knew that when you resist the natural flow, you invite frustration and burnout. True art, whether in our work, our relationships, or our personal growth, isn't born from constant struggle. It's born from allowing things to unfold without force, from acting in harmony with the rhythm of life, instead of constantly trying to impose our will upon it. Think of the great artists, musicians, and creators throughout history. The ones who achieved true greatness didn't obsess over perfection. They surrendered to the process, allowing their creativity to flow naturally. Take a look at the work of Picasso, for example. His later pieces, often seen as abstract and spontaneous, were the product of years of honing his craft and then letting go of the need for control. They were not the result of struggle, but of deep trust in his own instincts, in the freedom of expression in our own lives. The pressure to constantly be productive or perfect can stifle creativity and joy. We think we need to push harder, try more, and exhaust ourselves to get the results we want. But in doing so, we miss out on the beauty that comes from spontaneity. The magic that happens when we allow ourselves to be free to act without overthinking and to trust the moment. So how do we begin to embrace spontaneity over struggle? First, notice when you are trying too hard, whether it's at work, in your personal life, or in a creative project. Ask yourself, am I forcing this? Instead of pushing through the tension, try stepping back. Let go of the need to control every outcome. Embrace the idea that the best results often come when we least expect them, when we trust our instincts and allow the process to unfold organically. Imagine today, instead of struggling to make things happen, you allowed yourself to act from a place of ease. You trusted that the best way to create, connect, and grow is not by forcing things into place, but by allowing them to come to you naturally. You might find that by surrendering to the flow, you not only experience greater joy, but achieve better results in the process. Embrace space and emptiness as part of existence. The Stoics would suggest that in many cases, silence and detachment are the wisest responses. Not every conflict deserves our time and energy, especially when engaging with it will only drain us or create unnecessary tension. Take a step back and think about the bigger picture. When we engage in petty conflicts or arguments that don't align with our values, we waste precious time. We divert our focus from what truly matters: our personal growth, our relationships, and our peace of mind. By choosing which battles to fight, we can conserve energy for the situations that truly matter, the ones that have the potential to bring about real change or growth. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that the only thing he could control was his reaction. He said, "If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it." In this simple advice, Marcus was teaching us that we don't need to respond to every provocation. If a conflict doesn't align with your values or doesn't contribute to your growth, it's often better to step back and let it pass. This doesn't mean avoiding challenges or staying silent when something important is at stake, but rather it's about recognizing when engaging in conflict serves no purpose but to waste your energy. Let's consider another example. Perhaps you have a friend who always seems to put you down or make passive-aggressive comments. Initially, you might feel the need to defend yourself to prove them wrong, but then you pause and ask yourself, is this person truly adding value to my life, or am I giving them too much space in my mental and emotional world? By taking a Stoic approach, you realize that this is not a battle worth engaging in. You don't need to prove anything to them, and you certainly don't need to invest your energy in someone who continuously undermines your worth. Choosing your battles wisely also involves prioritizing your mental and emotional well-being. It's easy to get swept up in the emotions of a situation, especially when someone challenges us or disagrees with us. But the Stoics understood that maintaining inner peace is more important than winning an argument. When we fight battles that don't serve us, we risk losing our peace and energy in the process. Ultimately, by applying the Stoic principle of discernment, we gain the ability to assess a situation before reacting. Not every challenge requires a confrontation. In many cases, the strongest move is to remain calm, detach, and refocus our energy on the things that matter. The power of choosing your battles lies in your ability to remain grounded, to avoid being pulled into unnecessary conflicts, and to focus on what truly contributes to your peace, growth, and purpose in life. 3. Speak calmly and clearly. Diplomacy is more powerful than shouting in the heat of a conflict. The instinct to raise our voices, defend ourselves, or make our point loud and clear is strong. We've all been there, caught in the moment, desperate to be heard, to prove that we are right. But the Stoics understood something crucial. True power doesn't come from shouting, but from speaking with calmness, clarity, and purpose. Diplomacy, rather than aggression, is often the most effective way to handle any situation. Imagine you are in a meeting at work and someone criticizes your idea in front of everyone. Your first instinct might be to raise your voice, argue back, and defend yourself. But think for a moment, what does that accomplish? Sure, it might temporarily silence the person, but it also escalates the situation and creates tension. On the other hand, if you respond calmly, speaking clearly and thoughtfully, you have the opportunity to guide the conversation in a way that makes your point without creating unnecessary conflict. Marcus Aurelius in his meditations frequently reflected on the importance of maintaining a calm mind, especially in times of conflict. He believed that one of the keys to wisdom was the ability to remain steady and composed no matter what external circumstances tried to disturb our peace. He said the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. In other words, when someone tries to provoke you, the greatest power you can demonstrate is by remaining composed and dignified, refusing to engage in their emotional chaos. Speaking calmly doesn't mean being passive or letting others walk all over you. It's about asserting your position in a way that is respectful and firm without being confrontational. The Stoic approach teaches us that words have power, but only when used intentionally. When we speak with clarity and control, we show that we are in charge of our emotions, not the other way around. This ability to remain grounded allows us to navigate any conflict with grace, ensuring that we maintain our peace while effectively communicating our point of view. Let's consider a situation in which someone insults you. It's easy to feel hurt and retaliate with harsh words, but this only keeps the conflict going. On the other hand, if you calmly acknowledge their comment without reacting emotionally, you take away their power to disturb your peace. By doing so, you not only maintain control over the situation, but you also maintain control over yourself, something that is far more important than winning the argument. The beauty of diplomacy lies in its ability to shift the dynamic of a conversation. When you remain calm, you disarm your opponent's aggression. You put yourself in a position where you can choose the next step wisely, whether it's agreeing, finding common ground, or simply moving on without escalating the situation. It's not about suppressing your feelings or avoiding confrontation. It's about choosing the best approach to get your point across without unnecessary drama. By choosing calmness and clarity over aggression, you empower yourself and maintain control of the narrative. The Stoics didn't shy away from difficult conversations, but they knew that speaking calmly and clearly was the most effective way to overcome an enemy without resorting to conflict. 4. Find common ground and turn your opponent into an ally. In every conflict there lies an opportunity to turn an adversary into an ally. This concept may sound counterintuitive at first, but the Stoics understood the deep power of finding common ground with those we may disagree with. Rather than seeing others as opponents to be defeated, Stoic wisdom teaches us to view them as individuals with whom we share common humanity. Through understanding and cooperation, we can transform even the most challenging situations into opportunities for collaboration and growth. Think of a time when you disagreed with someone, perhaps a colleague or a friend. In the heat of the moment, it can be easy to focus solely on the differences between you, turning the situation into an us versus them dynamic. But what if, instead of amplifying those differences, you took a step back and focused on what you shared in common? What do you both want at the end of the day? What values do you both hold dear? When you take the time to truly understand the other person's perspective, you open the door to empathy and connection, and that's where the power of turning an opponent into an ally lies. Marcus Aurelius in his meditations often wrote about the importance of understanding others, especially in times of conflict. He said, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following: what are the things that they have in common with me? What are the things that I have done or am still doing that are similar?" In this simple yet profound question, Marcus teaches us that before we judge, we must first recognize our shared experiences and common values. By doing this, we can transform adversarial situations into opportunities for mutual understanding and collaboration. Imagine you are working on a project at work, and you are at odds with a colleague about the direction the project should take. Let's consider a situation where you are negotiating a project deadline with a colleague. Perhaps you want more time to perfect your work, while your colleague needs the project completed quickly. Instead of fighting for more time at the expense of their needs, think about how you can find a middle ground. Maybe you can agree to a deadline that gives you just enough time to do your best work while also accommodating their urgency. The key is to balance your priorities, and by doing so, you ensure that you are still meeting your needs without compromising on your principles. This doesn't mean you should give in to every demand or sacrifice your beliefs to keep the peace. It means that you understand that conflict resolution is often about prioritizing what's essential in Stoic thinking. It's important to ask yourself, what can I let go of without losing my integrity? The Stoics recognize that the ability to adapt without compromising what is truly valuable to us is a form of strength. The beauty of compromise from a Stoic perspective is that it doesn't require defeat. It's not about giving up what you stand for. It's about finding a way to honor both sides, navigating the situation with wisdom, and emerging with your dignity intact. In doing so, you can transform a potential confrontation into a cooperative exchange where both parties feel respected and valued. Ultimately, mastering the art of compromise means being willing to bend without breaking. It's about recognizing that in life some things are worth yielding on while others are not. The Stoics teach us that the ability to compromise without sacrificing our essential principles is a hallmark of true wisdom. 9. Make forgiveness a tool of strength, not a sign of weakness. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. In our society, we may associate forgiveness with weakness, as if letting go of past wrongs somehow diminishes our strength or sense of justice. But the Stoics saw forgiveness as a tool of power, a way to reclaim your inner peace and release yourself from the emotional burden that conflict brings. When you forgive, you are not condoning the actions of others. You are choosing to free yourself from the chains of resentment and anger. Imagine holding on to a grudge for years, feeling bitter, angry, or hurt by something someone did to you in the past. In doing so, you carry this emotional weight with you, allowing the actions of others to continue influencing your life in ways they shouldn't. It can affect your relationships, your peace of mind, and your overall well-being. The Stoics understood that we can't control the actions of others, but we have full control over how we respond to them. Forgiving in this sense is a way of choosing how you will carry yourself in the face of adversity. Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations wrote about the importance of accepting human imperfection. He said, "How much time you have wasted in thinking, if only this had been done or that happened." Let go of these illusions for Marcus. Forgiveness was not just a personal act, but a practical one. When we cling to anger or resentment, we are the ones who suffer the most. It weighs us down, occupies our thoughts, and takes up space in our hearts that could be used for something far more constructive. Letting go of these negative emotions through forgiveness doesn't make us weak. It makes us stronger, for we free ourselves from the past and take back control of our emotional state. Forgiveness doesn't mean that we forget what happened or that we allow harmful behavior to continue unchecked. It's a decision to release the emotional hold that a situation has over us. When you forgive, you are choosing not to let another person's actions define your peace. Instead, you take charge of your emotional landscape, allowing yourself to move forward with a clean slate. Take a situation where someone wronged you, perhaps a friend who betrayed your trust or a colleague who took credit for your work. Instead of letting these actions fester and take over your thoughts, the Stoic approach is to reflect on the bigger picture. Understand that people are often driven by their own struggles and insecurities. By forgiving them, you're not excusing their behavior, but you're choosing to release yourself from the ongoing resentment that only hurts you. When we hold on to grudges, we are in essence giving someone else control over our lives. Forgiveness is about taking that control back, choosing to live with peace, rather than allowing negativity to seep into our daily lives. It doesn't mean that you need to reconcile with the person or continue a relationship with them. It simply means that you're no longer allowing their actions to have power over you. The Stoics understood that life is too short to be wasted on negative emotions. They believed in living a life focused on virtue, wisdom, and inner tranquility. Forgiveness is a powerful practice that allows us to embody these virtues. It helps us shed the weight of anger, resentment, and regret, emotions that only serve to distract us from what is truly important. In the end, forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about you. It's about your ability to rise above the negativity and choose peace. It's about reclaiming your emotional well-being and moving forward without being shackled by the past. When you forgive, you are not being weak. You are being strong enough to let go of what no longer serves you and make room for the positive energy that will help you grow. This is it for today. I hope you liked this video. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel.